I'm live. So, hey everyone, it's been 3 months since I last recorded something. I've had a lot going on, so I've moved this many place. You might see more of it at some point. I'm yet to decide. I'm still looking for a job and all these other things, but yeah, I've also been unwell lately, so I've still got things planned. I've always wanted to do videos where I can discuss football amongst other things. Some sort of live stream. I'd use FM22 as the backdrop against Switch Chat. So that may be coming up in the next few weeks. Not sure otherwise, but go right ahead. So of course it was a while back, but I did predictions for the Champions League group stages. This was ages ago. Of course, they concluded a week ago. So I think I predicted the order of the groups, and I looked back at my predictions, and in the end, I only got one group where I got every position from first through to fourth spot on, which happened to be Group A. So I did predict City, PSG, Leipzig, Brugge would be the order. And overall I got 12 of my 16 knockout predictions correct, which is good, although then again it's pretty easy to guess with football always becoming more hierarchical, but I won't go on about that. So the big scalps. So I thought Milan might do enough to get third place. I knew it'd be close between them and Porto. Did not foresee the injuries Milan have struggled with. They did pull off an impressive win against Atletico at the Metropolitano, of course, but ultimately they did fall short. And they are out of Europe altogether, which may be a good thing, so they can focus on their title charge in Serie A. Although their cross-city rivals may have something to say about that. Group C, yeah, I wasn't expecting Dortmund to struggle so much. Again, like Milan, riddled with injuries. And in the end, Ajax's domination was astounding. I think they beat, Dortmund 7-1 on aggregate in the two matches they played. I wasn't expecting the reverse of that or anything. But yeah, Ajax looking very, very Ajax looking very, very complete as things stand. And Sporting, they're a very pleasant surprise, Sporting. I didn't think, it's not so much, I thought they had enough individually to go against Dortmund and Ajax. It was just a matter of whether they would be lucky, favoured. I don't think that was really an issue in the end. Their mentality, which is probably the reason why they almost went unbeaten in the league last season in Portugal, allowed them to hold up well against Dortmund and Ajax. And well, pretty easy prediction project us. One of the possibly the worst team in the group stage. Lost all of their matches. Not even Miralem Pjanic could save the team, although some are questioning whether Pjanic is anywhere near as good as he once was. In this group, another pleasant surprise, was Sheriff Tiraspol, the Moldovan club. So I correctly got Real Madrid topping their group, although I did wonder if Inter could pull off a surprise win at the Bernabeu. In the end, 2 years, and they've played against each other 4 times in the group stages, and Real Madrid have done the quadruple over Inter, have won every single encounter, and I think in only one of those matches Inter even put a goal past El Merengue. So after that, those two are through to the knockouts as expected. I was surprised with Shakhtar. De Zerbi, their new manager, had pulled off some nice football with Sassuolo. They nearly got a European spot last year, Sassuolo. So I thought with Shakhtar, they pull off something, but it's meant to be their worst ever group stage showing in the Champions League. And a bit like Milan, no further European competitions this year. Tiraspol through to the Europa. I was quietly hoping they could pull off a knockout placing, but only 1 point off of their opening two results, and that win against the Bernabeu at the Bernabeu against Madrid, that will go down as one of the fine shock Champions League results. I can see something like that happening again though in the future. Group E, wow, I was so convinced that Barcelona would be okay. I knew that Bayern were clearly a class above, but I wasn't expecting Barcelona to struggle this much, and even domestically, they're looking like they're in serious trouble, especially with pretty much every good attacker out injured and having to again start Luke de Jong no matter. It's a classic dread it run from it meme. De Jong still starting. Bayern, of course, winning all 6 of their matches. That wasn't really an issue for them. Benfica going through, so 2 Portuguese clubs making the knockouts. I don't believe any. Porto. My apologies. Porto went through to the quarterfinals last year. Group F. I thought Manchester United would top their group, but I was not expecting. I haven't really expected them to struggle so much. I don't think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was the manager, but I don't think he's as bad as people have been suggesting. At least, okay, he absolutely sucked the last few months, but generally throughout his time at the club, he's been alright for them. Although he was definitely holding them back in the end. I thought Atalanta. It was very close between Villarreal and Atalanta, as it was on the final day. Thought that Villarreal could hold off a challenge from. Thought Atalanta would have the goal scoring quality. They definitely do. But credits of Villarreal. They return to the Champions League knockout stages. I think it's the first time in these 10 years they've been in the knockouts. So real credit to Emery. Even though in Spain, in the domestic league, he's not looking particularly good. Group G. Surprised to see Lille do this well. They've been poor in the league this season. The new manager, I don't think, has a real grasp of how to use his players, even though they're lining up in the same 4-4-2 that Galtier used, which he is now using at his new club at Nice. And so you have, Lille have been solid. Saltsburg, I did have a feeling Saltsburg will go through. Not so much because historically this is their time. They will eventually they're going to make a knockout tie with the quality they've possessed, but more because I genuinely sensed that they had the way they played in the qualifiers and so on. I thought they'd be able to overcome the opponents in the group stage. So Sevilla. You have to wonder sometimes if they do it on purpose, Sevilla. They will go through to the Europa League and by default will now win the competition, especially since Emery is in the Champions League instead. And finally, Group H. Yes, it was much closer than I expected between Chelsea and Juventus, of course. Juventus beating Chelsea at their stadium in Turin. But then Chelsea being Juventus 4-0 in London, I thought, well, that's it. Chelsea, before match day 6, I thought that's it. They've topped the group even if they're level on points. But Chelsea had serious injury issues in the end. And they could only draw against Zenit. Juventus able to hold off Malmo. I was surprised at the quality of the last 2 teams in the group. You had Zenit looking incredibly... Zenit have been incredibly poor in Europe traditionally. Russian sides have generally looked bad. Although I remember Lokomotiv having an outside chance to qualify for some sort of knockout competition in Europe last year against Atletico and Bayern, but not this time round. But Zenit was solid. They didn't lose by... of course, Chelsea didn't do the double over Zenit. Juventus did. And Malmo, I was expecting more from Malmo. To the point where I thought they would beat Zenit, but Zenit was solid, and they go through to the Europa League. Many said that Chelsea were going to get Bayern or something because they got runners-up, but they got a much easier opponent, as we'll see in a minute. So those are the predictions done on that front. Of course, earlier today we had the draw for the first stage of the knockouts in the Champions League, and then the playoffs in the Europa. I'm not expecting too many surprises. I was expecting a couple of surprises with the original draw, that is. But then, of course, good old UEFA screwed up. And we're going to have they had to do the draw again. Shavin remarks he was happy that they didn't have to do it any more times. It was good to see Arshavin there because a famous player for the club which hosts the final in May, Zenit St. Petersburg. Zenit disappointed that they couldn't reach the knockouts, but I guess the competition was too strong, even though they were much improved on previous showings in the Champions League, even though they're comfortably the best side in Russia in their domestic league, that is. So we'll look at the first of all, I won't show it, but I'll look at the original draw for the Champions League. So this is I've sounded very weary and tired, haven't I? But now the original ties are pretty fascinating, actually. Benfica Real Madrid. This would have been the first time since the 1960s they would have faced each other in the Champions League European Cup. But yeah, I think Real Madrid would have gone through. Benfica have drawn blanks in a lot of matches. I feel Real Madrid would have comfortably gone through, even if they'd drawn at the Estadio de Luz. Bernabeu has been, offence-wise, a bit of a fortress. Ancelotti really knows how to get his team scoring. Defending doesn't take priorities under him. And I think Ancelotti didn't. I'm pretty sure Chelsea, they have a Premier League record of the most goals scored in the season or something. Villarreal against Man City, no question for me. Villarreal can be as pragmatic as they like they were in the Europa League final against Man United, and I think City would have gone through again. City would have demolished them at the Etihad. Atletico against Bayern, this is pretty easy. Atletico have struggled for form this year. They can't really score or defend. Suarez has dropped off, which isn't surprising, not because it's Suarez and he's old and he has poor eating habits or whatever. It's just more the team. He's old and he outperformed his XG. I know stats on everything, but yeah, I think the amount of people who are acting like he was as good as he was when he first joined Barca are kidding themselves. Of course, the other attackers aren't really informed. They don't really have a proper centre forward other than that. And they don't really have a lot of defensive midfield options. The real issue is the defence. Trippier's been injured. They've never had a consistent defence because a defender always goes off injured for Atleti, particularly Jimenez, who's pretty much their best central defender, at least on form. Historically, I think it would have been a comfortable win in the end for Bayern, who of course beat Atletico 4-0 last autumn in the group stages last season. So Salzburg against Liverpool. Liverpool comfortably go through, but I think Salzburg would have tried to surprise them. Of course, 2 years ago at Anfield, Salzburg managed a 4-3. Inter against Ajax. This would have been interesting. Inter Milan, of course, will be out without Barella for probably both 8 final legs. Violent conduct is taken seriously. And Ajax, I think, are a really good side. I think they proved in their group stage. I was surprised at how good they were. Won all 6 matches, scored goals consistently. You do wonder the way they're keeping it tight in their own domestic league. Lost their match against AZ Alkmaar yesterday, wasn't it? I wouldn't have expected this tie to be particularly one-sided. I think Ajax probably would have squeezed through with the superior midfield with Barella absent, and the best they've got is a washed-up Arturo Vidal. The tie between Sporting and Juventus. Now, Juventus on paper are better, but I think once again a Portuguese team would have upset them, and I think Sporting could well have gone through there had that been the knockout tie. Because I think Sporting, again, are very pragmatic and so well drilled and have a really strong mentality. Juventus, I feel, have lost their identity somewhat. So ultimately, yeah, Sporting would have, had it in them at least to beat Juventus at home and would have held off Juventus in the reverse fixture. But I think Juventus have a rebuilding job like a couple of other great European clubs. Chelsea, Lille, this tie eventually became the real one. A foregone conclusion for me. The only thing that can stop Chelsea, like a couple of the other clubs, is just injuries, key players absent and so on. But I'm not sure what to expect. And PSG against Manchester United, just when we thought we get another Messi-Ronaldo tie, it doesn't happen. It's been abandoned. It won't be allowed to take place. Of course, last year they met in the group stages, but I think Ronaldo had COVID and missed the first tie between the two of them. So ultimately, yeah, no doubt about it. It's this one is tricky to predict. I think PSG would have gone through just because while Man United appear to so far have been drilled a bit better under Rangnick, I feel PSG's individual quality would have shone through. They're slowly getting the hang of it, even though there's some way to go, and the general consensus is Pochettino should be fired. Replaced by whom? I don't know. That's the classic, isn't it? You want the manager out, but never have the responsibility to suggest who would actually do a better job. So the tie proper then. Let me just get this up. Apologies for those who see my OBS for a split second. Bye. It's gone. Okay. So this is the tie proper. This is after they did the draw again. Take two. So we have Salzburg against Bayern. This was a group stage fixture a year ago, and I remember I think at Salzburg Bayern beat the Austrian side 6-2. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a similar sort of blowout. And I know Jesse Marshall was known for not caring about defence. I do think that Bayern, of course, is going to go through. They're going to need Kimmich out isn't going to be enough. They're going to need half the starting 11 out or something for Salzburg to have a chance. And if Salzburg, I still maintain that Kamara is an important midfielder for them. If he's injured, if he's absent, there's no way they'll do much at all. I feel Bayern have been much better drilled under Nagelsmann than under Hans-Dieter Flick. So yeah, they should be fine. But Salzburg can be proud, even though they're not necessarily a club one should be proud of in terms of the way they're run. It goes against a lot of traditions. So sad for Sporting, as I think it was the Wonder Kids Instagram account pointed out, they would have fancied beating Juventus, who have struggled for consistency, but they're up against one of the top sides in the world, and a team that will always sweep aside these sorts of opponents. Usually, I think City under Guardiola tend to crumble when they're up against opposition who are daring, and who are near to their level. If they're not near the level, they'll beat them. But if they're near to their level, Pep seems to panic. But yeah, I think Sporting, I'm afraid, won't be going through. I was thinking, could easily see them being Champions League quarter-finalists with the old draw, but that it won't be happening now. Benfica against Ajax. I'm thinking that this one is going to be... I think Ajax will go through. I feel Benfica just... I mean, given their thumping loss to Sporting a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it? They will be... I feel unless Ajax loses someone like Tadic or Alvarez or Aller, if one of those guys is injured, then I think it will be a lot closer of a time. Benfica could have a chance of going through. But if Ajax have a healthy 11, no, they'll be fine, and they'll go through. Chelsea, though, again, I think unless they have a crisis in midfield, I know their attack is struggling with Lukaku out injured, and he's yet to find his feet despite an impressive start first few games. Chelsea should be alright. If they do struggle for attack and Lille stay disciplined, which might have happened under Galtier, is not happening under the new manager, whose name I won't pronounce because it's too lengthy. No hope. This tie, Atletico Man United, this is a lot harder to guess. I would say that Man United seem to have a much stronger defence. Positionally, they have a much better clue of how to sort of perform, and Atletico seem to lack that. Atletico, I don't know what's really going right for them apart from Rodrigo de Paul being such a revolutionary signing. And if it wasn't with the away goal rule taken out now, I think even if they shut out Man United in the first leg, I think in the second it's going to be a lot easier. I think Manchester United should go through. But this is a classic example of a lot happening in a couple of months. A lot can change. Ajax or Chelsea or Man United could have huge issues with squad selection. and that gives the other side the advantage. I remember last year when Chelsea drew Atletico, I thought Atletico comfortably beat Chelsea. Atletico were blowing everyone away in Spain. Lampard couldn't set up a defence to save his life, lol. And a couple of months change, and Atletico lose their edge a bit. Chelsea get a new manager who does draw his team well, and Atletico don't even score in the 2 legs, and Chelsea progress comfortably. So I have a feeling it will be Man United, because I feel Rangnick has a head start in terms of getting the right mentality for his team, and he'll power through against Atleti. Villarreal Juventus. This one, I want to say that Villarreal will frustrate Juventus and hold them off and take them out of action. And you know what? Actually, I will. It doesn't matter if Juventus have an even easier opponent. Villarreal will frustrate the opponents. They need Parejo and Capoue fit. I think that's key. If one of those guys is out, then Juventus will progress. But otherwise, I think that the team will. Juventus need to up their form. I know that certain players like Locatelli, Dybala to an extent are performing, but Juventus aren't cohesive. They have looked lost in a lot of games. They just drew a Venezia, a relegation candidate, the other day. Juventus need to pick this up. If they do, they'll definitely beat Villarreal. But as things stand, even though Villarreal aren't looking great themselves, I feel that the pragmatism under Emery, and they're definitely more pragmatic than Atletico at the moment, will do the job. Enzo versus Liverpool. If Barella hadn't done that if he hadn't, gone for that punch between the legs of Militão, wasn't it? Then I might have fancied Inter a little bit, but without Barella, it's again Liverpool. If they miss a Van Dijk or Fabinho or Henderson, I think would be a big loss. Someone like that in midfield. If they lost Salah, one of those players, Inter might have a chance. General expectations, Liverpool are going through. And then finally, this tie, PSG Real Madrid. Oh my gosh. So it's sort of an El Clasico of sorts with 2 former Barcelona stars. Star is an understatement for one of them. You'll know whom I'm talking about. As they go up against Real Madrid. This is the thing, both teams I think have dysfunctional setups. Now, I like Ancelotti a lot as a manager, but I feel he hasn't really prioritised defence for a long. I don't think he ever really has. He trusts his players to sort of do the job. He does know how to set up an attack. I'll give you that. I think when he has a system where he knows the players are cohesive, they'll score for fun. We saw that at the beginning of last season with Everton when you had Richarlison, James Rodriguez, and Calvert-Lewin. But this time, and Real Madrid, Benzema and Vinicius, their synergy is incredible. But ultimately, it's a tough one. PSG could have Ramos back, and of course Marquinhos is a rock, a proper, one of my favourite leaders in football. The top European clubs, one of my favourite captains. He's done as good a job as anyone could have hoped, replacing Thiago Silva as their leader at the back. So, as someone once said, that Marquinhos probably learns off Silva, who in turn learns off Nesta. So, it's yes. I'm sure that path will continue. I don't know who he's going to learn from Marquinhos necessarily, but yes, a fantastic player, Marquinhos. He can even play in midfield. Maybe that's what's needed. I feel a key part of PSG's hopes of progressing is Verratti's fitness. If he's out, I think Real, with their mentality, even though they've lost some games embarrassingly this season, Sheriff Tiraspol, I think they lost to Espanyol, didn't they? They if without someone like Benzema, who I think has had a couple of injuries lately, but I feel would be back in time for February. Yeah, I see. This is the thing. There's too many factors in this one, especially. I mean, there's too many factors in the Atletico, Man United, or Villarreal, Juventus ties. I think I'll say what I said in the original one. I think if Neymar's fit, Verratti's fit, and PSG's attack is all fired up, comfortably PSG would progress, in the sense that Mbappe and Messi are finding some great form, carrying PSG's attack at the moment. no question for me. So those are the teams that are going through. So remember this, guys, if anyone wants to challenge me. But it's Bayern, Man City, Ajax, Chelsea, Man United, Villarreal, Liverpool, and Paris Saint-Germain are my quarter finalists. It'll be interesting to see who Villarreal would get paired up with. And I think there are small chances for someone like Benfica or Lille to go through themselves. We'll go on to the Europa League here. So this is, of course, 8 opponents, the group winners in the Europa League. I can't remember all of them. I know West Ham. If any Hammers fans are watching, shout out to them. You guys will get to play 2 fewer games, and we'll enjoy a nice little rest before facing whoever opponents are drawn against. That won't be decided until these knockout playoffs are decided. I believe it's over 2 games, isn't it? Yes, it is. It is over 2 games. So let's go over these. So if we're going by memes, Sevilla have won it already. So but unironically, they will beat Zagreb. I feel Zagreb still have good players like Livakovic. I feel it would be quite an immature side. If Sevilla loses like Rakitic or Fernando or one of the central defenders, particularly Kunde, maybe Zagreb have a chance, but Sevilla should go through, and I fancy them. Atalanta Olympiacos, this one's a little more difficult to guess. I would have said, like in the Champions League, I thought Atalanta's attacking prowess would do the job for them. I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen here. Olympiacos have, say what you like about Arsenal. Olympiacos eliminating Arsenal in the first knockout stage 18 months ago, I felt was unexpected, especially when Arsenal won the first leg away from home. But Atalanta, I think, actually, you know what, I'll give it to Olympiacos, because Atalanta, I think, will be focusing on the Serie A tie. They're looking more and more dangerous in Italy, and they'll want to focus on at least a Champions League spot, if not, say, second, or even something that Inter will run away with this, and they might be the only team that can challenge, especially if Milan struggle for a healthy squad, at least, and Napoli similarly. We'll get on to them in a minute. Leipzig against Sociedad. Pretty easy for me. It's Leipzig. I know Leipzig have struggled, but even when... This is the thing about Jesse Marsch as a manager. Like, even if he can't set up a defence, he can set up an attack. And Leipzig were scoring. Even in that huge loss at the Etihad, Leipzig still scored 3 goals and an Nkunku hat-trick. I think... some of that philosophy will be retained under the manager. I can't remember if he's the permanent manager or just an interim. Yeah, though, I see Leipzig. If they maintain that philosophy of relentless pressing and positioning and fluidity, if any of that's left from Nagelsmann, they will brush aside Sociedad. Sociedad need players like Marino fit, or Yarzabal fit. Or Yarzabal is their talisman in attack. But honestly, Leipzig should do it. They should be comfortably strolling through. I think maybe recency bias is affecting me here a bit, because Sociedad did have a huge loss to Betis yesterday. So Barcelona against Napoli. This one, if it was held now, I think it's pretty clear who would go through. I know Napoli are struggling for injuries, but Barcelona can't even beat Osasuna. And they just look completely... It's not Xavi's fault, but they're looking completely out of hope. All of their good players are injured or out of form or just too old. And it's just looking so dire for them. You do wonder... You don't know whether they're going to recover. I don't know. It's not really worth discussing at this stage. But yeah, Napoli would definitely beat Barcelona. But in a couple of months, Fati and Pedri could well come back. They could loan in some new players. Napoli will lose Anguissa and Osimhen. I know Osimhen's out injured, but they'll be gone for the AFCON, Africa Cup of Nations. That's going ahead even if there's too many COVID cases. I think it will be held in another country. I can't remember where the original host nation is, but they'll host it even behind closed doors. It's too valuable not to... the TV money would be too valuable. So AFCON will still go ahead. The players will still go. I mean, I didn't factor that in with... if we go back quickly, Liverpool against Inter. Yes, so Inter will be out without Barella, but I forgot Liverpool will miss Mane and Salah. And Matip if he's counted on. But ultimately, yeah. I should still expect Liverpool generally to go through, and that's still my prediction. I do predict Barcelona to beat Napoli here, because if Xavi can keep instilling enthusiasm, momentum, motivation towards his players, and Napoli are known to getting worse as the season progresses. I think and especially if Napoli want to focus on their domestic campaign like Atalanta, with Barcelona, maybe they might be so far outside the top four that they decide they can only win the Europa, and they'll go for that. They'll prioritise that. Then yeah, Barcelona to progress. Then Zenit against Betis. This one's interesting. Zenit have definitely looked better than I would have originally expected. But Betis are just no slouches. Pellegrini's really got them firing. So Betis could well clinch a Champions League spot. And again, I do wonder if that could play into it. Of course, there'll be key players will need to be fit. So particularly Fekir for me. But all I know when I watch the Liga is that Betis are the team in form right now. If Zenit's wide men, Claudinho and Malcolm, and of course Artem Zuber are fit, they will always be a threat. I think Betis will still go through, but it'll be a really close tie, this one. Dortmund against Rangers, no contest for me. Dortmund will comfortably go through. Rangers are looking really solid. They look so much more cohesive under Giovanni Van Bronckhorst than under Steven Gerrard. I do think Gerrard's a good manager. I think he just needed to leave. He needed a new challenge for himself, mainly. I think it's nothing to do with his quality. I think if he'd stayed at Rangers, he would have picked things up again, and they would have looked more like themselves from the year before. And I know Dortmund have had so much bad luck with injuries too, particularly Erling Haaland's absence. Yeah, even if Haaland doesn't play, the quality of Dortmund will blow Rangers away, especially with someone like Jude Bellingham in midfield. Rangers can only dream of having someone like Bellingham play for them. Sheriff against Braga. Now, I'm going to be sentimental here, and I'll say Sheriff. Sheriff are a much better side than any of us could have expected. They clearly, as shown in that win at the Bernabeu and at other stages in the Champions League, they clearly have the mentality of a side where if their starting 11's fit, they can challenge anybody on their day. And I think they'll frustrate Braga, and they will knock them out. I think we saw what Sheriff did to Dinamo Zagreb in the qualifiers. Yeah, Sheriff for me to go through in that one. I'm being so harsh, discrediting Braga. Porto, Lazio. Again, I actually think Porto will go through no problem. Lazio's depth is poor. They're struggling for consistency. I feel they clearly have issues. It's not Sarri's fault. The team is just, there's no question that their president has bought some poor players. And that starting 11 is looking thinner and thinner. You know, you have some good players like Immobile, Acerbi, Alberto and Milinkovic-Savic. But if any of them are out, then the team it just isn't the same. They're bad. The depth is just straight up horrid for Lazio. I feel if they want to prioritise getting European football again, they'll have to sacrifice this tie. Porto, I think, have comfortably in depth. They have new players coming through. Vitinha, who was at Wolves last season, Premier League fans, if you remember, he's looking amazing for Porto. I remember some people saying he's a Moutinho regen, if not better. So my prediction for the Europa League for the first playoffs are Sevilla, Olympiacos, Leipzig, Barcelona, Betis, Dortmund, Sheriff and Porto to go through. That was a much more fun one to predict than the Champions League. I think mainly because as many have said, the Europa League is in some ways better than the Champions League because at least it's a bit more unpredictable and competitive with the sort of the elitism in European football. The top teams getting stronger all the time as things stand, and that could be the case maybe for decades to come. I don't know. Maybe I'm being naive. I don't know. But the Europa League is looking so strong. So many great sides. Of course, Sevilla will come through and win it all, is the joke. It could well be. They just never seem to lose anything there. I remember they did get knocked off, I think, by Sparta Praha like 3 years ago in like the round of 16. Yeah, so I expect some real challenges. So I went on for a while there. Yeah, those are my predictions. Hopefully, this time I positioned, I used OBS properly this time, and didn't spam it into like you see like a whole load of random numbers and zeros with no reference. Nah, that wasn't the case, but yeah. I don't know when I'll do another video. I'm planning to download FM22 and do something with that. Yeah, I'm probably not going to take over a club. I don't have the concentration to run a football club like an FM. I'll probably let the AI do something. And I want to chat about football generally, just narratives involving clubs, players, just specific characters, and specific narratives which fans come up with, which I find some of them are a bit strange and full of holes. But that will be for a few weeks. I'm still settling into my new place and trying to find work, and ultimately, yes, just coming to grips with certain things. I want to do more content for you guys. There is another project I'm working on also, just developing an idea for a new series of videos, but I'll take my time on that. I've still got all these other things I need to prioritize. But thank you all very much for watching. If you decide to stick with me through the whole stream, I know a lot of YouTubers do lengthy streams like that, but I'm starting up. I just like to think through these things delicately. Even if you know, a lot of the streams you find me not more just focusing on what I want to say next than actually talking. But yeah, I'll be fine in the end. So ultimately, yes, that was my reaction to my group stage predictions. I got 12 out of 16 right. Thank you, Mark Pasha. Fantastic. I don't know when he posted that. Yeah. With everything said there, group stage predictions, I know they were ages ago, so I spent 10 minutes talking about that, didn't I? But yeah, really the video was about predicting who will go through in the Champions League and the Europa League first stages. The next set of games aren't drawn yet, so I'll figure that out. But yeah, I do feel with the Champions League it's going to be more predictable. I think the fact that 3 teams in the group stages won all of their matches, all 6 matches, and that's never happened before, is suggesting, again, probably another bit of statistical evidence that football's more hierarchical. But it won't happen again for some time. It won't happen next year. I don't think. I mean, there might not even be a 6 out of 6 performance by a team in the group stage next year in the Champions League. But yeah, ultimately, of course, those were my thoughts, and I will definitely be back with more content soon. So it's bye for now, everyone, and see you all soon. I will be back with some new content. Do watch out.